to our presenters. So I will make you the host. You can go ahead and start whenever you are ready. Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can you all see the screen now? Okay, thank you for confirming with me. So we'll be starting now. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our presentation today. My name is Yuning, and today my fellow interns Ling and Margaret and I will teach you how to provide healthy food choices for your child, especially targeting children at 3 to 4 years old. So before the start of the presentation, I would like to have everyone please mute themselves. And if you have any questions along the way, please use the chat box below. We will try to answer all of the questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you. So let's get started. Today's representation is divided into 3 sections. In the first part, we would like to elaborate on the rationales to adopt healthy diets for early childhood. Then in the second part, we will focus on providing more background information regarding different food groups that should be integrated into daily diet. And we will also spend some time talking more about the sugar consumption in children's daily diet. Finally, in the third part, we would like to ensure that you leave this presentation with ample resources to create healthy meals for your children in the daily basis. So we're gonna talk about meal planning, recipe development, and also provide you with some extra resources as well. Now, let's take a look at the benefits and reasons for healthy food choices for kids. So the reason that nutrition matters for young children because general eating habits and patterns are formed in the early few years of life. And eating patterns established in these few years really influence one's health during their entire lifetime. So encouraging good nutrition during their early years of life is therefore an investment in the health of your children. So there are actually tons of benefits of healthy diet for children specifically because childhood is a time for rapid growth, development, and activity as well. With regular intake of nutritious food, children can have proper brain development, which reflects in better performance at school. Ample nutrition consumption also support bone and muscle growth, which help them to stay strong while running around and playing around. In addition, adequate nutrition from different food groups also enhance immune system, and that can help the children to fight off infections more quickly. And more importantly, good nutrition and healthy diet reduce the risk of chronic diseases later in life. So for example, healthy diet reduces the risk of obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. And on the other hand, poor nutrition is associated with increased risk of chronic disease. Therefore, maintaining a healthy diet is really necessary throughout the entire lifetime. So as I have just mentioned, your child eating habits and patterns begin developing in the early few years of life. So this means that the meals they eat and the patterns in which they consume food really influence them for the rest of their life. It is safe to say that promoting healthy eating habits at a young age can create long-lasting changes to the rest of their lives. So here are some of the habits and patterns that you can adopt to facilitate these healthy eating lifestyle. The first one will be to guide your family's choices rather than dictating them, because forcing habits sometimes will make your child associate like healthy eating with bad memories. And this can really increase their chances to fall into bad habits later in life. The second tip is to really encourage the child to eat slowly and chew every bite, because chewing completely aids in digestion and also allows the child to recognize the feeling of being satiated and full. The next tip would be to involve the child in shopping and preparing processes, because by involving them in these process, it really introduces them to how to pick out and create dishes that will stick with them when they eventually are on their own. The final tip is to plan snacks and meals in advance, because doing so promotes a healthy lifestyle and increase the chances of staying on track. Of course, it can be pretty busy as a parent, and there will be days in which you stray off tracks, but making sure that you are planning ahead so that it can ensure that even you stray off track for a day or two, you can jump back right on. And now we're moving on to part 2 of the presentation, in which I will introduce different food groups and elaborate on the sugar consumption in children's diet. For today's presentation, I'd like to focus mainly on 4 different food groups. So they are starchy food, milk and alternative, fruits and vegetable, and then protein. So the first food group here I'm gonna introduce is starchy food, which include potatoes, bread, rice, pasta, and other starchy carbohydrates as well. So by consuming this particular food groups, the main nutrients provided are, of course, carbohydrate. It provides the energy and fulfills the daily caloric needs for children's growth. They also contains B vitamins, which help the body to build tissue and aid in forming red blood cells to make sure the blood is healthy. They also contain fibers, which aids in digestion and avoid constipation. Some of the breakfast cereals are fortified with iron, which is needed for healthy blood and also avoid anemia. So the second food group here is fruits and vegetables. The main nutrients provided by fruits and vegetables include vitamins, especially vitamin C. This vitamin C is specifically needed for health, for healthy diet, and also to help absorb iron. Fruits and vegetables are also commonly high in fiber as well. And there are many dark green vegetables like broccoli and spinach. They're high in iron content as well, which help to develop red blood cells. The third food group is about dairy and its alternative like milk, oat milk, soy milk, almond milk. So as you may have already known, this group is high in calcium, which is needed to build strong bones and enhance strength. They're also high in fat, which is needed for energy and fulfill the daily caloric needs. Milk also usually include vitamin A, which is needed for growth, healthy skin and eyes. They also aid in maintaining a healthy respiratory system and a healthy digestive tract. Finally, usually milk are high in vitamin D, which is needed to help absorb calcium and to build strong bones as well. So the last food groups I'm gonna talk about today is protein, which include meat, poultry, fish, egg, nuts, and seeds. So protein is needed for energy and fulfill caloric needs, of course. And it also has the function as building blocks for bones, muscles, cartilage, skin, and blood. They're also the building blocks for enzymes, hormones, and vitamins, so they're really important. In addition to protein, all of these protein sources also contain zinc, which support the immune system. They also contain magnesium that helps to build bones and support muscle function. So among all of these protein sources, many of the seafood contains omega-3 fatty acids like EPA and DHA. So they're essential for a child's developing brain, nervous system, and vision. So eating 1 to 2 ounces per week of seafood is actually recommended for preschoolers. Now I would like to hand over the presentation to Lane, who will continue to talk about sugar consumption.
Thanks, Yuning. I appreciate that. I do want to mention that Yuning, Margaret, and I are also, we didn't mention at the beginning, but we are dietetic interns from UChicago Ingalls Memorial. So just to get that out of the way, so you know a little bit about who we are. But as Yuning mentioned, my name is Lane, and I want to talk a little bit about sugar consumption among children. So according to the American Heart Association, some studies have linked high sugar diets to numerous health issues, including obesity, increased risk for high blood pressure, high triglyceride levels, and other risk factors for heart disease and stroke. Consumption of sugar is one of the leading causes of childhood obesity and overweight children. And according to the National Cancer Institute and National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, children as young as 1 to 3 years old already exceed the daily recommendations and typically consume around 12 teaspoons or 51 grams of added sugar per day, which I'll get to the recommendations later. And by the time a child is 4 to 8 years old, their sugar consumption can skyrocket to an average of 21 teaspoons a day. So a whole lot of sugar. These added sugars can be found in many popular foods and drink products, which I'll dive into a little bit later as well. So you can go ahead to the next slide, Yuning. So this slide, I kind of want to do a little activity. I want to ask you guys a question of how much sugar you think is in a typical sports drink. So just like a 16-ounce bottle of Gatorade. And if you wouldn't mind putting that in the chat box, I'll give you about 30 seconds or so to answer. It's a multiple choice. So A being around 3 teaspoons, B being around 6 teaspoons, C being around 8 teaspoons, or D more. So if you wouldn't mind answering that, I will discuss it after we get a few in. All right, I'm getting the common answer of C. Actually, it is a little bit less for a 16-ounce Gatorade. So it is around 6 teaspoons, which is still a lot of sugar. I mean, you think about the recommendations being 6 teaspoons for the whole day for a child, around that 25 grams. The Gatorade actually has 26 grams, so a little bit over the daily recommendation. So typically we think of sports drinks as being a super healthy alternative for kids instead of, if they're running outside and playing and stuff. It can be great, but there is a ton of sugar in them. So if they're drinking them all day, they may be consuming way more sugar than you think. And I want to do a little demonstration on the next slide, Yuning, if you want to go ahead. So I'm going to, I'll have Yuning stop sharing and then I can share my screen. I'll start my video. So I created these little baggies just kind of to show. So I don't know if you can see them very well, but this one right here is 8 ounces of Sunny D, which is just the typical orange drink that you can find at the grocery store. I know a lot of parents give these to the kids too. So 8 ounces is 14 grams of sugar. So that whole corner of the bag is filled with sugar, which actually surprised me. And then the 16-ounce Gatorade that I just mentioned right here is a little bit more. So when I think about like how much sugar I put in my coffee, I always think that I put way too much. And then I look at this and I'm like, wow, that's a lot. I drink Gatorade a decent amount sometimes. And then one that is big, of course, is the soda. So this is a 12-ounce Coke. So even at different ounces, you have 8 ounces of Sunny D, 16 ounces of Gatorade, and this is in between at 12 ounces. And that is 39 grams of sugar. So 39 grams is, it would be a little, way more, probably almost double well, not double, I guess, if it's 25. So a lot more than your daily recommendation for a kid. So just for one can of pop. So limiting that would be a great idea. And other unsweetened beverages and things like that are always a great alternative. So I will have Yuning start sharing the presentation again. One second. Okay, so moderation is key. So now that I've showed you the amounts of sugar that are in a few of these common beverages, I want to go into, I guess, how to moderate sugar intake. So less than 25 grams or 6 teaspoons of added sugar is recommended. So I really love this saying at the top of this graphic, which is healthy kids are sweet enough. Of course, maybe some of our kids aren't so sweet, but typically healthy kids are sweet enough. So if you take, just a regular tablespoon or teaspoon, sorry, and you just take 6 scoops of that'd be your daily recommendation, which doesn't seem like a whole lot when you scoop it out, but as I've showed, it's pretty easy to hit that mark. And as childhood and obesity and diabetes rises in the country, it's kind of imperative that we are equipped with this information so we can lead our children down a healthier path, so they can live a long, healthy life. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so with the guidelines on added sugar, how can you become aware of the foods that you give your children? So this is a huge thing. It's a skill that I think everybody should learn. But reading food labels. So reading food labels is the quickest way to determine the nutritional content in food. So it can be a little tricky sometimes, but the FDA actually just released a new food label in the last few years that makes it a little bit easier. So this food label should be on the back of most products in the grocery store, and it can provide accurate nutrition information regarding carbohydrate content in the foods you select. As you can see in the particular food label, there is a serving size at the top. So there's 8 servings, and each serving size is 2/3 a cup or 55 grams. So there's 8 servings, which mean there's 8 of these, all of this information, the calories, everything. So it would be that each serving is that 230 calories, your total fats and everything. But the one I want to focus on a little bit is, of course, the total carbohydrates, where the added sugar is, where that red box is around. So as you can see, if you really want to figure out how much added sugar you're getting, you can just look below the total carbohydrates. There's a dietary fiber, your total sugars, which typically the sugars that aren't in the added sugars are naturally occurring sugars. And then you'll find the added ones at the bottom. So those are the ones you want to add up to try and get less than that 25 grams per day. You can go to the next slide, Uni. All right. So I want to do another little activity. If you wouldn't mind putting in the chat box, what are some other ways that you try to limit your child's intake of sugar? So any tips or tricks that you may use already, or something that you can think of. I'll share a few on the next slide as well. I'll give you about a minute or so, and then we can discuss them a little bit. I like the one that Cheryl just put. She said mostly drink bubble water or milk. I am also an addict of the bubbly water drinks, LaCroix and all those things. I know kids love them as well. I see Cherie put Crystal Light packets in water. That's also a good alternative too. Water and sugar-free packets. Yeah, so the same situation there. Those are always great. They give the kids a little flavor, that craving that they're looking for. Yeah, those are all great answers. I'll go ahead and go to the solutions that we have on there. So some of the solutions that we have to reduce added sugar in your child's diet would be, of course, read the nutrition facts label. So just making sure that you're aware of what's in the products that you're giving to your kids. Serve water and milk, as Cheryl said. So limit your fruit juices. So some of these ways that you guys put already are great ways to limit your fruit juice intake. So there's a cool, I guess, not new product, but a product that a lot of people don't really realize is out there, and that's sugar-free fruit juice. So I know that when I was a kid, I always craved fruit juice, but I never really realized how much sugar was in it, of course, because I was a child. But there is sugar-free fruit juice out there, which is a good alternative if your kid is really craving that. So you can also satisfy your child's sweet tooth with whole fruit. So just chopping up, bananas, give them some raspberries, blueberries, an apple, things like that. Since they're naturally sweet, it might curb your child's craving for some sugar there. And the last one is to go fresh and limit those processed and prepackaged foods. So some examples of that would be like the fruit juice cocktails, like your cookies, your sodas, your sports drinks. So all the things I previously have mentioned, really. Those are things that you kind of want to limit and maybe have them not so much as cut them out completely, but maybe limit them to once every few days or once a week or so, maybe as a prize for doing so well throughout the week or something like that. Give them incentive for those things and make them associate them with good memories and stuff, as we talked about at the beginning. So then maybe they're more apt to follow a healthy diet for the years to come. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Margaret next. She is going to talk a little bit about meal planning and recipe development.
Thank you, Ewan and Lane, for providing that great background on kids' nutrition. A lot of good tips there. Like Lane said, my name is Margaret. I'll be explaining this part 3 of our nutrition talk today about meal planning and recipe development. So go on to the next slide. We will first examine what a healthy meal looks like, look at ideas for meal planning and look at recipes, go over tips and tricks to use in the kitchen, and then also provide you with additional resources. On to the next slide, we're going to look at a visual from, we'll go back one more slide. Thanks. So here's a visual from choosemyplate.gov. And like I said, it's a food guide. So it's just an example of a meal. Not every meal is going to look exactly like this plate, but it is important to try to get half of what your child eats at home to be fruits and vegetables throughout the day. So you see this plate's divided into 4. So throughout the day, half your plate should be about fruits and vegetables. A quarter of our nutrients are coming from grains throughout the day, and a quarter of our nutrients are coming from protein. You can see up on the top right-hand corner, this looks like a glass of milk to me. It looks like a dairy. Dairy comes in different sources, right? So dairy can mean a glass of milk, cheese, and even yogurt can be a source of dairy throughout the day. We'll go on to the next slide. Here we see different food groups, and this is useful for meal planning. Remember the 4 section of that plate. So when we're picking those things, we can look at each of these categories and put those in each section. Okay, so this helps us when we're preparing a meal for someone. So we're not serving all grains or all proteins. We're kind of mixing it up so our kids are getting the most nutrients out of each category. I do encourage you when shopping, if you look at the bottom here, the grains, look for more whole wheat products over white bread. So if we get more whole wheat products in her diet, we can increase our fiber in our diet and add added nutrients. You also see how we talked about the juices in our diet. There's no juice on this specific food group. We want to emphasize eating more whole fruits over the fruit juices. This can help eliminate all that extra sugar in our diet. So as we move on to the next slide, we're going to look at our portions for our kids. So as an adult, our kids are not going to eat the same amount as we do. It's going to be roughly half to even smaller at some points. So if you look at the grain, a typical 3 to 4-year-old only needs about 4 to 5 ounces a day. And like I said, we want to choose more whole grains. So typical serving size for a 3 to 4-year-old is 1 slice of bread or a half cup cooked rice, pasta, or oatmeal. If we're serving more than that at a serving time, we might be overfeeding them. And then fruits and vegetables, like I said, we want half of our meal or half of our plate to be fruits and vegetables every day. And that's about 1.5 cups of each of those. So we can prepare them raw or cooked. And then examples of vegetables would be sweet potatoes, broccoli, and half a cup of carrots. But again, that portion size is about 1/2 cup for kids. And I would suggest using like a measuring cup and measuring those portions out. And then fresh, we can buy our fruit, fresh, frozen, canned, or dried. If you are purchasing canned fruit, I recommend looking at what it's in. So it's going to be in 100% juice. If you look at, it might be in heavy syrup. You want to avoid heavy syrup. So stick towards the fruit juice or light syrup if you are purchasing fruit in canned. So the milk, we want 2.5 cups of milk a day for our kids. That's a serving size of about 1/2 cup. Fat-free milk, low-fat milk, even soy milk. Like we said earlier, yogurt and cheese are also a good dairy source. For protein, we want to stick to 3 to 4 ounces a day for our kids. 1 ounce of lean meats, like a lean ground beef, fish, even seafood for our kids a few times a week. And a protein would be like 1 egg would be a good serving size for them. Also black beans, kidney beans, that's about 1/4 cup. And like I said, take that measuring cup out of your pantry and divvy it up so you can actually see what 1/4 cup looks like. That would be a good serving size of protein. And then also 1 tablespoon is a good protein source also. So we'll move on to the next slide. So here we have meal planning. So to plan a meal, we just want to remember the My Plate guide. So it's an easy image to remember. It's divided into 4 sections. Pick a protein, a starch, a fruit, and vegetable. By rotating these menus, we get a different variety of different ingredients, which provides different vitamins and minerals throughout the week. We can be consistent with our breakfast, lunch, and dinner times each day. This will help encourage your child to eat more at these set times, so they start anticipating when their meal times are to be coming. So we'll go on to the next page. And I put up this image because brownies are my favorites, but I also wanted to encourage you to choose recipes with healthier ingredients, right? So a typical brownie contains lots of sugar, white flour. This black bean brownie, however, is one of my favorites. It contains like pureed black beans over white flour. It gives an added fiber throughout the day, and it's gluten-free for those who are sensitive to wheat. We did include this. We'll send this with you later with our additional resources to try out. But like I said, we want to encourage you to still eat the foods that you love, but little small changes in our diets can add up. We'll go to the next page here. This is examples of a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Really fun, easy for kids, and adults would love to. So here for breakfast, we have an example of peanut butter and blueberries and banana on toast. Great quick snack in the morning, full of protein, and got your fruits in there as well. For lunch, we have an example here of cheese, chicken, and veggie quesadilla. And then for dinner, there's a quick option of you can make little mini chicken or burger sliders with a side of veggies. So the little sliders are perfect size for preschoolers. We'll go to the next page. So here's some tips and tricks. So we all know some kids can be picky eaters, and it usually starts young. So we want to try to prepare food as normal as possible. If we are catering to our kids and cutting off crust, we're kind of letting them know it's okay to be picky. We don't want them to be picky. So when we're preparing our food, prepare them as you would eat them. One other trick to encourage your child to try new vegetables or even introduce new tastes to them is provide different dips for your meals, things such as yogurt, hummus, even ketchup and low-fat ranch dressing are fun ways that toddlers and preschoolers can dip their food in and have a little fun with it and enjoy it. So we'll go to the next slide. So kitchen tools can be a great way to get your kids involved and have a little fun in the kitchen. This is my favorite tool here. It's the Wavy vegetable cutter. Only $5 to $7. I can get them at Walmart, online at Amazon. But you can use it on almost any fruit and vegetable. So zucchini, cucumber, carrot, potatoes. I cut my apples like this all the time for my kids with their peanut butter. They just love the fun shapes. Other tools you can incorporate into your kitchen to have fun with your healthy food choices are spiralizers and blenders. On the low end, these can range between $10 and $20, and it's a fun way to have fun with your food. We'll go to the next slide here. And helping in the kitchen is a great way for these young kids to start learning about nutrition and get interested in food. They can help us stir, mash, mix. Even if we're not preparing anything that involves stirring, you can get a little small bowl of water and a spoon and have them sit next to the counter with you and have them practice, right? This engages them and helps them participate in the kitchen. As they get a little older, they can start cracking eggs, chopping, and even peeling carrots. Like I said, these are older skills, but it's never too late to start teaching them this. It really starts engaging them and gets them interested at dinner time too. When they remember that they helped prepare that, they're more likely to consume that meal. And then for the little guys, even counting. If they're learning to count, even 1 through 10, if you have 4 people in the family, ask them how many people are in the family and have them count out 4 napkins or 4 spoons, whatever you want to set the table with, and have them go to the silverware drawer and grab those out and set the table while you're, preparing the rest of the meal. This really helps engage the kids and makes them feel important. So we'll go to the next one here. So when preparing food, if we present broccoli to a toddler, they might not like it, right? So the first time they like it, it's green, it's hard, and it tastes funny, but there's different cooking methods. We can try it raw one day, steamed, roasted. Each of these cooking methods really brings out a different flavor in that food. And if they don't like it raw, try it again the next week steamed or even roasted. You'd be amazed what the different vegetables taste like in different cooking methods. And then also we can start seasoning differently. So kids do prefer sweet and salty, savory, more bland and soft and crisp foods. So practice with your little seasonings and shake it up a little bit. You'll be amazed how many more things that they'll start eating if we're flavoring it differently. But you can limit. They do tend to stray away from that bitter, sour, spicy, slimy, mushy, and tough foods. So just keep that in mind when preparing different methods. So here is a safety. Food allergies are common, not common, but they do tend to pop up in younger kids. So peanuts, fish, milk, soy, and eggs are the top food allergens. If you do have any worries, do please talk to your pediatrician if you're concerned about any of these things. Choking hazards, we do have to be careful when preparing food and making sure we're preparing the right sizes. So hot dogs and raw fruits and vegetables, we want to cut them down to size where we know that our child is ready for. So even whole grapes and cherry tomatoes, cut them in half or quarters, and then they can be eaten with a fork that way too. I want to eliminate or try to stay away from as much hard candy and popcorn at that younger age until you know your child's ready to handle it. So to wrap up with different resources, there are many food pantries in the local area. Take advantage of those and farmers markets. The Chicago lunch, the school lunch programs are widely available and provide free school lunches to those kids, especially right now during the pandemic. There are a lot of different spots where you can come pick them up. Union, if you can, I'm going to share my screen now and show you real quick a few of these websites, and I encourage you guys to look at them at home in more detail, but I don't want to just go through these. Here we go. Okay, so this one's one of my favorites. This is eatright.org. It's from our Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And what I like about this is you can go right to the kids section here, drop down. So you might have a few different kind of kids at home, right? So let's see, preschoolers. And it brings you right to all the different tips for that specific age group. So here you can go in deeper, look at different snacks and meals for your family. And then down here, a few more recipes. So it's a very well put out resource. And like I said, it's categorized for all different types of kids here. And then my other favorite one here is, this is where we got the Choose My Plate from. And again, you can browse by audience and go into, so for children, we can look at our preschoolers, and a lot of these sites have fun games and songs and resources for your kids. And then I'm assuming we'll look at one more here. This one was the school meals. I would take advantage of this if this is in your neighborhood, but this is all across the Chicago Public Schools. They are offering free lunches to kids. If you're not already enrolled in that, this is the website to check it out, and contact your school. They're all different schedules for pickup sites. So we'll go back to the presentation real quick. Union, can you put that screen up real fast? Perfect. Again, the few other resources I would check into if you're not familiar with is WIC. It's a Women, Infant, and Children program. Great resources to provide nutrition counseling for them. And all these resources will be provided to you as well as some recipes. We'll be emailing those out to you. But that's like it for the resources. I want to thank you so much for joining us today for this kids nutrition presentation. I hope you guys learned a lot. If you guys do need some more individual assessments, you can contact our outpatient dietitian, Mary. Her phone number is listed here below. But like I said earlier, if you did have any more additional questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We will stick around a little bit longer and help you answer any questions you might have. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. It was awesome. If any parents have any questions, feel free. You guys can stick around, ask those questions. If not, everyone is free to go ahead and log off. I hope everybody has a great weekend, a good holiday. Our kiddos still have their remote learning on Monday and Tuesday, okay?
Quick question for you. Do we have to put our name down, or do you guys got our names, or?
No, so just go ahead and shoot your student or your child's teacher an email and just let them know that you attended this session, and then they will just mark you down.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If you want to message them on Remind or whatever app they use, that would be fine too.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.